I am going to go ahead and start this conversation by welcoming you all and just saying how honored we are that you are here today with us. So the panel theme is on igniting the spark, women shining, thriving, and leading. And this theme aligns to the Gala tonight, which is on sparkle and shine, of which it means celebrating the brilliance, the resilience, and the impact of women, and how women continue to lead, empower, and shine, as well as transform in the different spaces and the different worlds where they are. And so I am very honored to have these great women, and I can tell you people, I could hardly breathe. I mean, I'm still in awe that I have this opportunity to be the moderator today. So to our panelists, distinguished panelists, welcome and thank you so much for gracing the G4G Kenya Gala, 5-year Gala. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, and each one of you are going to answer this question in just 30 seconds on what does the theme sparkle and shine mean in your personal and professional lives. And we're going to start with you, Anne.
Good evening, everyone. So when I first saw that question, I thought about the night sky. There's so many stars, and there's so much space for so many stars. So for me, sparkle and shine means everyone has the opportunity to shine in their own very different way, and we should all just find a way to do that, because like the sky, it never gets full of stars, and it's always still beautiful, and it continues to sparkle. So for me, sparkle and shine means there's opportunity for everybody to shine.
I too had to think about the sparkle and shine. Immediately I saw the invitation. What came to mind is, what do I wear? But the next thing that came to mind is the children when they are doing their sparkle activities. You've seen them putting all these sparklers in anything. You go home, you find sparkles in your shoes, and there's this joy that comes from that achievement of what they have done, the artistic thing that they have done. And it brought to mind that sparkling and shining is about joy. It's about connections, it's about achievements, it's about always being there for others and them being there for you, uplifting each other so that we are all joyful and we all achieve together.
So sparkle and shine for my OCD person is about cleanliness. No, true story. Sparkling and shining is about cleanliness. And when I thought about it, it's about the cleanliness inside you, your professional cleanliness is your integrity, how you show up, how both in professional and in your personal life. And sparkle and shine is different from glittering. You've seen glittery. You've actually met, I'm sure everyone here has met a very, very, very handsome man. He walks in the door, or a very, very beautiful woman, very put together. But by the end of the night, you can't see it because the sparkle and shine has not come from inside and shone through, right? They are a glittery person. And very soon, the glitter falls off, right? So sparkle and shine, and the theme today is about how do we shine from inside and just glow, and let that glow be, our cleanliness, our light, what we share, and how we show up.
Thank you.
So what do you say after those three ladies? So for me, when I heard about sparkle and shine, I thought about one of the most precious metals or precious metals in the world is a diamond. And it doesn't matter that you haven't discovered it and it's under the ground. It's still precious. It doesn't matter that you haven't polished it when you take it out of the ground. You all know it's precious, it's expensive, and it's difficult to buy and to get. So when we speak about sparkling and shining, for me, the diamond and how a diamond is processed and brings out its value, it came to me as an example of how each one of us are work in progress. But ultimately, it doesn't matter the dirt that is poured on us, we will still be the diamond that sparkles and shines.
Wow, from the sky to children to cleanliness to diamonds. I mean, oh. So Jess, as you still have the mic, the first question goes to you, which is success. Just as we are celebrating success here today, often gets celebrated. But I would want to know from you, how do you react, or what gets you through the failures whenever you face them?
So I'm sure you want to know after I have gone into my blankets and thrown a pity party and tried to figure out how this is panning out. So it's difficult. I mean, failures are tough situations that we all have to face in life. But sometimes I think it's important to look at them as not just failures. So one of the things that comes to mind about my life is trying to be a mother and finish university. I got pregnant in my final year of university. Coming from a family of 7, as the eldest child, you automatically are the deputy parent. So what example was I setting? And at that time, whilst I really acknowledged and appreciated and celebrated that I was going to be a mother and motherhood, it was so difficult for me to understand how my siblings looked at me. I had just failed my parents. I had failed myself. I could have finished school first before, venturing into that space. So that was a tough time for me. And also the many doors that were closed in my face, dealing with rejection. It's difficult, really, to come out of it. But one of the things that has kept me going is that I'm a strong believer in God. And I believe in His plans and His purpose for my life. And I believe that they are good plans. So that has really kept me grounded, and that's been where I've anchored myself in. So prayer is one of those elements that I use to get through some of these times. But I'm also very fortunate that I'm surrounded by amazing family and friends. So I've learned to lean on them. I have very trustworthy friends. And sometimes I look at my friends and I'm like, are they crazy? Are they talking about the same person? Because they seem to believe in me more than I believe in myself. I'm like, maybe let me just stand up. I mean, this is me, right? Are we talking about the same person? So having yourself surrounded by family and friends and people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself is really, really critical. Those voices will carry you on. Thank you. Then the other thing I really, which has helped me, is to take stock. Okay, this has happened. Then what's next? But what I've done in life, there's a saying that there's no crisis that should be wasted. So I move around with a toolbox. And in my toolbox are all the mistakes that I've done. So if you're looking to talk to someone who's failed an interview, come and talk to me. I will get it out of my toolbox. I can share that experience. If you are looking to talk to someone who has tried or has been passed up for a job, for a role, I'm happy to share that experience. So instead of throwing away these experiences, I've decided that I'm going to move around with my toolbox, and I'm hoping that G4G will be a platform where I can share some of these experiences. And then the last one that I wanted to just mention is you need to set new goals after that. So it's enough to review and to see where you are, but you need to now set new goals and believe in the possibility of the impossibilities, ladies. You can do it. Just because you failed once doesn't mean that it can happen again. So get up, dust yourself, reinvent yourself if you have to, re-engineer yourself if you have to, put a little bit of makeup, get your self-confidence going, and tomorrow will definitely be a better day.
Agnes, Google. It's one of, I am sure many of us would want to work for Google. It's been listed as one of the best companies to work for. We see, you know, all the wonderful things and the money and everything. I don't know, you've closed up. And you know, it's amazing that you hold a very high position at Google. But then we would be interested to know what are some of the myths that you have encountered about women in leadership that you think work against us, or they're myths that shouldn't exist?
That's loaded. And I think she answered for the whole panel all our questions, right? So what are the myths there are about women in leadership? That's the first myth. Leadership has no gender, right? We have Madame Gathungu here. She's not the first female Auditor General. She's the second Auditor General of the country. Like, period. And when we started doing this first woman first, it was kind of cute, very cutesy, very demure. Now, it's like, okay, enough with that. The leadership position that she holds, or you hold, or anybody in this room holds, is an equal leadership position, regardless of who holds it. And so what we do is each person, regardless of their gender, brings in a different value system into that leadership position, and then is able to drive and deliver, right? So the first myth that I have seen is, you know, there's gender in leadership. You're a leader, walk in and lead, right? Draw on your content, and that content you have to, unfortunately, ladies, your content has to be at 150%. That one is not a myth. It's true. It's what it is. It's what it is. Gear up, yeah, and go to battle. There's no other way of doing it. Maybe a few years from now, but I think in my intro, somebody said, so I've worked 28 years. I know I'll retire with that still being the case, right? But I hope for the new generation of leaders who are up and coming, it won't have to be the same. But for right now, it's what it is. Yeah? Your content, what you know, how you know it, how you deliver it, needs to be at 150%. It's what it is. The second thing is never, ever walk into a room as a woman. If you are a finance manager, you walk into that room as a finance manager, full stop, right? And what does that mean? What that means is you deliver. Remember when we're talking about from inside, what comes out? You work hard, you deliver, you make things happen, right? So the whole thing about leadership and genderizing it, for me, I think is the largest myth that there's been. I remember there was a time, I worked for this company, it was a tech company, and my boss was male, he wasn't around, I had to attend the Africa Exco meeting for him, right? And on the other side, so it was a physical meeting in South Africa, and then on the line, our president of EMEA and his team were there, and they were interrogating our performance. So we get on the call, whatever, South Africa reports, West Africa reports, East Africa, I start talking, it's like, oh. He asked, what is that? Yeah, because there was no woman on the call, there was no woman in the room, right? And he's like, I think he thought the call had been hacked. Because he was like, oh. So our MD for Africa explains, so-and-so is on the call. It's like, just hold on. Then they mute on that side. True story. Then he comes back and he's like, hi, Agnes. I'm like, hi. Like, are you ready for this? You've got enough information? I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, okay, let's go. Right? And then you report. You report the same way everybody has reported, right? And they were so impressed. But in my mind, I was like, why are you so impressed, right? So we have an opportunity, all of us as leaders, to just make sure that every single person who walks in the room, whether they are male or whether they are female, we are able to take the best of them, the best of this human being, and have them deliver for us, right? And so that whole gender myth, that we need to deliver that message across, and that is why this is so important, right? And the work that G4G does. But at the end of the day, the leaders sitting in this room, just lead.
Wow, I'm almost forgetting I'm moderating. Nancy, on to you. So, the Auditor General of the Republic of Kenya.
I do it afraid. I think I need to say that first. That even when you see my outward calmness, inside there's turmoil. And I think we can all relate to that. But I do it because somebody has to do it, and I do it because I believe in it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the first thing that you have to have in your mind. Do you believe in what you're doing? Do you truly believe that you'll walk that journey? And that's the beginning of resilience. I have been a public officer and a public sector auditor throughout my career. From the moment I walked out of the gates of the university, I was employed as a public officer. And I'm glad that you mentioned that there is a woman who came before us in public sector audit called Priscilla. And I always recognize her, and probably that's why you remembered. I always refuse to acknowledge that I'm the first woman Auditor General, because I am not. Maybe under the new constitution, but there's a woman before us. A woman who taught us that we can do it when the profession, and Anne is here, and she knows, was male-dominated. Even now, it is still a little bit male-dominated, especially at the top level. But resilience means that first, you believe in yourself, you get a group of people who believe in you, and ladies, this is very important because sometimes we have friends who are, I call them woye friends. When something comes, woye, another thing comes, woye, you get people who can affirm you, who build you up so that whatever hits you, and there's bashing in leadership. These ladies are talking very well, but if they told you their real stories, if there was time, we have been bashed, and we are still being bashed. But it means that you don't lose sight of what it is that you want to achieve, what goals, for me, I talk of my mandate and my roles and responsibilities. I don't lose sight of that because there are so many people depending on the work that we do. And I have a table of my officers there, directors, who, they're the ones who have my back because they're the ones who do the toil. So resilience is knowing that despite the challenges, despite the battle scars, because there will be battle scars, that there is something beyond in terms of achievement. You'll come out strong, you'll come out resolute, you'll come out even more determined to achieve what you need to do. That you don't let the challenges, you don't let I keep saying bashing because that's the only word that I think that can describe what women go through. She says there's no gender in women, but and indeed in leadership there is no gender, but there are people who force the gender to be. There are people who says, oh, she's leading like this because she's a woman. So you have to affirm yourself that you are the leader, and I'm borrowing from her words, that you have to make it happen, you have to deliver. That life is not easy, and don't expect it to be easy, ladies. And this goes for the younger generation, because we are in a hurry. That growth, that shaping that you go through, when life is tough and you overcome it, is what builds you and makes you ready to face the next issue that will face you, the next challenge, or the next test that you'll go through, because it's a continuous testing. So resilience cannot be taught, but it can be experienced. And it cannot, and it should not be experienced alone. And I'm glad that G4G is there, because it means we are holding each other up. I mean, we were admiring Anne. Anne came into this space before us, and we used to admire Anne Muraya. I used to admire, and I still do, Anne Muraya. And sometimes we get to meet and have professional conversations. And she leaves me more knowledgeable than I was. She always teaches me something, because private sector, public sector, there are always things to learn. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not a lesson that you need to learn. It's a journey that you need to take. And it's a journey that you need to be ready to go through despite of the difficulties that are there. At the end of it is when you look back and then you discover, oh, that actually is resilience. But at the point in time when you're being tested, you're not aware. It is about not giving up. And when you feel you're weak, because we do feel we are weak sometimes. I mean, I've woken up and asked myself, do I want to go to work today? Then I'm like, oh, there are 20 reports that need to be signed. It's when you look for that friend and you say, today I woke up, I was in a bad mood, or I was in a low mood, or I was feeling a little bit depressed. And they say, can you get up? Let's meet for coffee. Or you go do your work, we meet for lunch. And then later you discover, because I did it anyway. I did it afraid. And that phrase is very powerful, ladies. Do it even when you're afraid. Then you look back and you say, yes, indeed. That's what resilience is all about.
Wow. We're moving on to Anne. And Anne, today we are celebrating the past, the present, and we're also thinking about the future. So for you, how do you see the role of women in leadership evolving over the next decade?
First of all, we won't be saying that, women in leadership, because women are leaders. Men are leaders, we're all leaders. So the first the evolution will be, you're not saying the female CEO, you're saying the CEO, because that's who she is. I think there's more and more women getting into leadership, and you can see how it changes organizations. There's all the data that shows that when you have a more diverse leadership group, you actually do better on the bottom line. And it's showing. It's showing. There's Patricia's great results. There's very many people who have great results. You can see women leadership is a really good thing. So it's going to evolve so that hopefully we're not having to do 150% before anyone thinks we're any good. Because that's where we still are now, sadly, in 2024. So what I'd like to see is that we are doing our best, as always, but we don't have to go above and beyond just to be considered at par. I think what's also going to happen is we will need to keep pulling the younger ladies up. Yeah? There are so many myths they've been told about what they can't do. Right? So what will also help it evolve is there'll be more people for them to see. There'll not be that one female rocket scientist or that one dear who opened a store in America or whatever. There will be all of them that did that, so it doesn't look impossible, right? Because people need to see to believe, right? So I think there'll be more and more visible leadership of women so that it doesn't become a thing. Then there will be less of women don't support each other, which is complete and absolute nonsense because women really support each other. Or there will be less of women bosses are terrible. We're 50% of the population. Some of us are bad. Some of us are terrible. And that's okay, because that's how life goes. Not everyone's good, but because you're fewer, it is conflated. So there'll be less and less conflating of that. But I think also, we do bring something special to leadership. So I think more companies will thrive more, they'll be more inclusive, and we'll be able to show just how good we really are as women and why we should have had that seat a long time ago.
Great. Because we're short of time, we are going to pick a max of 3 questions.
Is I'd love to hear from all 4. What are the life hacks for balancing life and all the wonderful things that come with it? Work, play, friends, family. Yeah, from all of them. They are key life hacks. Thank you.
One of my hacks is, I admit my age and I admit I will forget. Everything's in the calendar. Yeah? My catch up with whoever, my nail appointment, my hair appointment, my hike, my walk, my meetings, my going to visit my kids, everything's in the calendar. That's my hack. Because when you schedule it and you plan for it, it gets done.
I think my hack is, first of all, accepting I cannot do it all. There is no balance, or you'll drop everything, and some very important areas of your life will suffer. So my hack is to get help. I get help in the house, I get help in the office, I get help and I outsource. And sometimes, even when the work becomes too much, I ask Anne, can you take this client and do for me? And give me the report. So don't be superwoman. Nobody has called you to be superwoman.
So +1 to that one. So my life hack is my housekeeper. Let me tell you, that woman, I don't even know what gets cooked. I show up and there's food. She does all the meal planning. She runs the house. She drives, so she picks my child from school every day. I drop. But she does, those things that they do between 3 and 4 o'clock when you're supposed to be in the office and they have football, I don't know what. So she does all that. And she has never called me to tell me there's no sugar during work. Do you understand? So because that whole headache has been taken away from me, I'm able to focus on where I'm able to bring most value. For that, I pay her amazingly well. I pay school fees for all her children. She will never leave me. I'm kind, I'm respectful, I am everything, right? She will never leave me. So she's my greatest hack. And because we are able to tag team well, I'm then able to be without worrying too much about things.
I want a housekeeper. I think we can have a bidding auction for your housekeeper. Let's see. So all the above, but I think for me, my life hack has been, like what was mentioned, you cannot do it all by yourself. So when I am with the kids, my life hack is to be fully present. So whatever else is happening elsewhere has to stop. Otherwise, I become a double loser. And I had a friend who always used to tell me, don't be a double loser. So in the place that you find yourself, be fully present.
I love to hear older women speak because we look up as the younger generation and think, okay, this is where I want to be, and these women have done it, but how do I get there? And my question is for the younger generation of women wishing to be bold and confident and happy and successful. If you were to leave them with one piece of advice, what would that advice be? Yeah.
There is no shortcut. We're living in a world, in a microwave world, where we want a lot of things now, quickly, instant gratification. You just have to do the work. And the work is phased, right? So you're young, you have a lot of energy, your mind still works, as Anne alluded to at some point. It becomes a bit foggy. You have the energy. Go in and learn. Learn as much as you can. Forget about the money at the beginning. Just learn. Be a sponge. Be your best. Sparkle and shine in the workplace, right? Take on more than you should do. Put up your hand. Be seen. Speak. Volunteer. Do. That's the first phase, right? And very quickly, it'll start transforming to where you go from putting up your hand to where people seek you, right? I want this person on my team. I have this happening, whatever. Can Nyakeo please join the team? I need a whatever, certain skill. And the evolution happens. Before long, you will be the one standing up there, now knowing how to do it, and saying, and pulling up the younger ones and building teams, right? And from there, you will grow. It will come together, but you have to do the work. Unfortunately, there is no other way.
So I would say harness your spirit of adventure. A lot of times I feel like, we are so self-censoring. At the age that you are, you have amazing leeway. So take a leap of faith, trust yourself, try stuff. If it doesn't work, you have the time.
I think I go by what the ladies have said, but I want to add that you need to have that sense of acceptance and belief that you were born capable. You had it from birth. Fear and self-doubt is learned, but we were all born capable. So it is important to have, to rekindle that spirit of the childhood that was so brave, but your mom kept telling you, don't touch that, it's hot. Don't run into the road, you'll get hit. That was to protect you. And even now, you have people who are protecting you in the family, your parents, your other family members. But inside, that spirit, that capability that you are born with is there. Now, how do you channel it? Do you want to channel it by taking shortcuts? Do you want to channel it by doing the wrong thing, forgetting about your values? Or do you want to sit and say, I will go I'll take, you said the whole hog. I'll go the whole hog. I'll put in the work. I'll put in the hours. But it's focus. And the young generation, you lose focus very fast. And sometimes you lose focus when you're just about to achieve it. So you are constantly chasing after something that you have left behind. So it is important, first of all, to know what do I want to achieve, whether it's career-wise, whether it is personal life, and put in the work. You have to put in the work, and that we have to affirm that. We have not reached where we were by taking shortcuts. And even now, we don't believe we've reached the top. We are still putting in the work because you don't know what's next. So it's a journey that you have to be determined to take.
So I'd say stay curious and always learn, and don't be boxed into anything. Now, I've said this many times, I got into the accounting profession having done maths and chemistry and not even understanding a thing of what the accountants were saying. It sounded like a different language. I knew what they're saying, right? But I just thought, okay, let me try. How hard can it be? So probably have that attitude of how hard can it be and try, right? Some things don't always work for you. Then you stop and try something else. But don't be afraid to try. And stay curious and stay learning. Always, always, always stay learning.
Wow, great. What is a panel? Oh boy, we'll have time after, then you can get to network with them and ask those questions because we are out of time. Okay, say it real quick. No, can you, yeah, just say it.
I'm going to say everyone has strong personalities, so that's not unique. I think it's find your way of shining. We don't all shine the same way, but there's no substitute for working hard. It's not a one thing. There's no one hack. It's you put in the time, you put in the hours. Mastery requires time. Yo-Yo Ma, who's a concert pianist, has put in the time. Eliud Kipchoge puts in the time. Everybody who does great stuff puts in the time.
Anyone else who wants to answer? Quickly.
When it comes to, as you said, corporate or boardrooms, I need to emphasize that knowledge is power. You don't walk into a boardroom with a blank mind. You must have studied the agenda, you must have prepared. And that is how you start building confidence. That's how people start saying, oh, she knows her stuff. She knows what she's saying. She's got a good idea. And sooner than later, that respect now is earned. And people now come to you as a go-to person. In this area, during the meeting, we had her say this. Can you ask her if she can advance the idea further? So knowledge is power. And I know we've talked about learning. learn. Whatever subject or topic it is, do the best you can to learn as much as you can about it, and you can hold your own in any conversation, whether technical, whether professional, in any area.
Yes, please.
So I have one comment about that. Generally, especially in culture these days, they say bring your whole self to work, right? Wrong. If you're self-aware, you know your whole self also includes some things there, some cray there, right? So bring your best self to work, right? And I have seen in many organizations these days, it's a whole thing, bring your whole self, every bit of you. Especially for those with quote-unquote strong personalities. Is the world ready, really? Right? You need just spend some time, call yourself to a meeting, and just ask yourself, at what point in my career will I expose that one? Right? And be wise about it. And we are not saying diminish yourself. We're not saying turn off your light. We're not saying dim it. We're not saying just be wise. And if you're asking that question, you are wise already. Right?
So mine is a quick one. You don't have to win every battle. So choose your battles and win the war.
Oh, wow. And I love that you are so persistent to ask the question. Can I say I'm a proud mentor of the Gatsby group? So quickly, we end this with a fun question. So for Jess and Nancy, you're going to answer this. If you could have dinner with one woman, living or historical, who inspires you? Who would they be? And what would you ask them? And you've gotten the question, one woman, if you're to have dinner with one woman, living or historical. And for Agnes and Anne, yeah, if you could switch places with any woman in the world for one day, who would it be? And what would you do with that superpower for that day? So, who do we start with?
I'll start. I'll go first. So if I was to have dinner, I'll have dinner with Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. I think she served one of the longest terms, from 1979 to 1990. And my question, and she was very controversial. So my question would be, how did she handle criticism and failure?
Strangely enough, the one woman I would want to have dinner with is years and years younger than me. Jacinda Ardern, former Prime Minister of New Zealand. The woman who taught the world what leadership in crisis is all about. And the question I would ask her, how did you do it?
Now, this is a true one where I have to think off the top of my head. Christina Legrand, you know her? Do you know how much power that woman wields in financial systems globally? I think if she got a fever or if she coughed, the dollar would do something. Like, definite, right? And yet she's so graceful. And one thing I find amazing about her, and by the way, this is actually a study that's been done. It's been published. Forbes even wrote an article. Do you know, women, your career starts to peak at 50? Right? So between 50 and 60, your careers peak. And there's a whole cohort of women, from your Thatchers to your Christinas to your whatever, women who are ruling massive institutions today. And they start doing that job at 55 to 60. right? So I would love to hear her story. She's a mother, she's married, she's done everything, and then she sits on top of the world. Huh? Yeah, she was a synchronized swimmer. She still looks like one. I would love to sit with her and just... So what would I do with that superpower if I was her? Oh, God. I would bring all of myself to work.
All right. For me, it's Shonda Rhimes. I completely love her. I love how she has built herself. I love what she talks about work ethic. And, okay, excuse my French, I just love her badassery. Like, totally. So, what would I say to her? Oh, if I took her superpower, I'd write a whole fantastic series. I don't know about what, but I need her brain to see how it would all come together. But I just love her complete, absolute talent and badassery.
You're living here with nuggets of wisdom. So this is how we're going to clap. We're going to start, when I do this, you will start clapping low. Then as I raise my hand, you'll increase the tempo. And then when I do this, you're going to clap very loudly, right? Are we ready? You can see me from this side. You can see me from this side. Okay, let's start. And in G4G style, flowers. Thank you so much. But before you get off the stage, I work with Gen Zs.